So not a lot visually on the surface of the baseboard has gone on this week. I have been doing a little wiring. We can see I've got a single point. I've got a test cable in here back to the controller. So I've been wiring up a number of points, although I haven't done any of them on the window side of the layout here. If we pan round slowly so we don't get dizzy, you can see I've got some point motors. I've dropped the cabling through the board. They all work and throw the points. Again, excuse the squeaking floorboards. So if we tip down here, we can see these ones are all wired but not run back to any switches. And it did turn out that this Y point needed two motors to run successfully. It's got the two oversprings in it. I thought one would do it, especially with the discharge unit, but apparently not. Maybe it's just I need a better quality point, but two seems to throw it, and they did put two switches on it. So again, all of those through, and there's one more in down here. So on the face of it, not much work when you look at it, but it's occupied a fair amount of time over the week. And see, I've got some other cabling in here for the some of the isolating sections. Again, the switches aren't run back, and cabling's generally sprouting out of everywhere at the moment. We'll just pan around and have a swift look under there. So more cabling sort of ready to run, as it were, but not connected up yet. So let's see if we can throw the one switch here. And we've got this G.W.R Pannier tank. Now this is quite a long running model, and this is a one from 1970 in that sort of waxy plastic. Sorry, not 1970, 1977. I think the model first showed up as R.041S. Sorry, R.51S in a very glossy plastic, varnished. I think I've got an earlier video of one of those, but this is from 1977. It's R.041 in that sort of mid-late 70s style box. We've got some paperwork there. And it's, what date have we got on there? 10th of the 5th, 77 perhaps? If we open that out a little bit further and have a look at the full number there. So we've got the model number, R.041. Yeah, that's 10th of the 5th, 77, isn't it? I know I frequently get those wrong. So quite a long running model, and I think there was a later model with a painted finish, which may have been R300. I think that was in the early 80s, and I think it was R.051 at some point as well in the earlier 70s. So let's see if we can throw this switch. I should have really screwed the switch down or made it secure. It's quite difficult to operate with one hand. Let's see if we can do that. There we go, a nice reassuring click there. So I will have to sink this cabling through the board. I'm just going to run it tight to the pier there. Let's see if we can deliver that load of coal beans. So I'll give it a little power. And then if we run that back, we can close the trap door. Trapdoor's probably the wrong word for it, isn't it? So let me get the uncoupler or decoupler. And probably not the best place to do this along the side walls. And then we'll take the locomotive away. And I've got some coaches ready for it to collect. Let's give that a little power. We'll take it back through the points now. There we go. I suppose we should close those points and see if we can roll over backwards. There we go. Quite a reassuring throw. I can't get that point switch to hook in. See, they hook on at one end and they're free at the other. Excuse my dodgy wiring there. So let's see if we can take this down, back down the ramp here. So we want to go backwards. Quite a smooth runner. It's got all plated wheels and a slight flange on the centre wheel. We'll have a look at the model more closely in a moment. Can't remember which controller I'm supposed to be using here. There we go. I think if we switch this one, let's just run around. So she's going to run round here. And then we need to switch. Actually, I've already got this one switched. So we can run through there, run past this CP rail locomotive. So we need to open this one. And this one. So that should get us to there, and then we'll have to throw some more points, and we can pick up those early 60s G.W.R coaches there, nice chocolate and cream ones. We'll have a swift look over those a little later on. So let's see how we do with this. So we now want to roll forwards. I think that's far enough forward to throw the next relevant point. Let's have a look. Oh, only just. So I think we'll get away with that. So I just can't get my fingers in here. So we can see the advantage of electrifying these. There we go, so that'll run through there. And we'll run back and we'll hook up with those coaches. So I'll just grab the controller. See if we can hold this up high enough so we can see this run. There was a little bit of a stutter there coming through that point work. But remember, we are talking dodgy track here. There's a number of connections. I think that's quite an uncomfortable thing here, having that little quarter in there. But I think she's dealt with it okay. Now these coaches are early 60s with open axle boxes, so they're not quite as smooth as you might think on this track. The flanges are a little bit on the deep side, so let's roll that forward. Yeah, and we've had a little bit of a stutter there, haven't we? So she has sort of stalled on that point, running very, very slowly. Let's give that another go. Let's see what we've got. A little more successful that time, so it happens. You stall on points with these older models and an old track, but it is all part of playing with the toy trains, especially old ones. So they are a fine looking set of coaches, aren't they? They really are quite pretty, and we have seen those earlier. We'll take the time to have a look at these as we move on. So let's open another set of points here, I think, and let's get this train out onto the main line. So we're going to run through here, and that'll run right around there, and it'll come through this curved point over here. Excuse all of the massive wiring and stuff. So we'll come through there, but I think we need to open up. Actually, we'll make sure we're open. Yeah, we are open. So it'll run out of there. So let's see if we can make that happen. We'll get her across that diamond crossing as well. So here we go. Just stop her there, and we'll switch this point, and then let's make sure we have a clear run through and we can get back up onto that elevated section. So we'll just check up over here. We can come through here, along here, through here, and we need to switch back there so we can run back through. So let's give that some power and see how we do with that. It's all fairly smooth apart from the single stall on that point coming out of the station. So you can see I've got the control in this area here, and I think on balance this is going to be the best place for it. Operating the railway from the middle here is really, really good fun because you've got access to everything. It's a little disorientated when making video when you turn all the way around and then coming back to the controllers, but the temptation to operate from the outside is there because it's quite a nice view looking across the layout, but I think really the benefits are from operating in the centre here. And as you saw, we had the slight stall on the points here. I mean, that does happen from time to time, so it really does make sense to operate from the centre here. It's really, really nice to see the trains run around you. It's a great experience, I think, is the best way of describing that. But yeah, so the wiring, the point work you've seen I've wired up is all going to run back to here eventually, and I've just got the one test cable, so I've still got the work to do with this point work here, although not quite as important because it can be reached. But the plan is to get the turntable in down here. I know I mentioned in a much earlier video that I had a later turntable, and as it turns out, it's a much later turntable than I had first thought. So let's just pull this sheet of paper out here. So this is the layout I had with my son when he was interested in model railways. Let's just pull this post-it note off. Excuse the camera wobbling there. So I had two layouts, one underneath each other, and this one had the Series 3 and Super 4 and the catenary, and the one above, you can see we had this turntable. So that's R.070, which I believe is still in production. Now, from memory, I had thought I had the earlier one, which I think was 414, which was produced in the sort of mid 70s. There was a manual version, hand-operated version as well, but it turns out that I actually have a much later one in a Hornby, quite a late Hornby box. I think that it's post 94 perhaps. And from memory, it worked reasonably well, although I think clockwise, if I came to this outlet, I always struggled with the connection. getting the locomotive to run, or it stalled coming off the bridge. Anti-clockwise, it worked fine, so it was semi-problematic, and I've seen a lot on the internet of people having trouble with these, so I think we'll just leave that one in the box for now, and we'll go to this much earlier one, which I did have on a layout. The layout I had, which was a mix of System 6 and Super 4, you can see here the grey base and the black bridge. It's that one there. So this is a variation on the much earlier one that I had on the previous layout, so the R.408. So this became 408U, and it was sold with converter tracks and a slight modification to the outside of the turntable moulding, and it also came with the ability to have fencing on there. I don't know why we're looking at this old print here. Let's have a look at the box. It's a fantastic picture. So the slightly modified turntable here had the clips for the fencing, and it has some lamp posts, and it also has some ramps which strangely aren't visible here in this picture. But let's just jump back to this printout here. I think you can probably just see the ramps in evidence here. Also, just probably worth mentioning, this earlier turntable, we also saw that in action back in the spring. I think that's at R.45 that came along, 1957. That remained in production till R.408 came in, and then when R.408 was adapted, it got, for System 6, it got the U, so quite a long-running turntable, the one we're about to look at, or variations of it. But as I say, I was mistaken in thinking I had the sort of mid-70s variation. But just looking at this picture, you see this great use of what looks like very crude foam underlay, doesn't it? Let's remove this post-it as well. If we look closely at this box, I think this turntable went out of production in 74. If we look closely here, let me just lift that a little, you can see that this is a sticker, a great big sticker, applied to the front of this quite very large box. See if I get the camera back far enough. And if I hold the camera close enough, can we see the show through from underneath? I think that says RS615. Now I think 615, RS615 is the Railway Children set. So that was, perhaps they just used up some old boxes from the Railway Children set. So that is remarkable, isn't it? Just making a sticky label of that size. If you just see it in scale to my hand, that's quite something, isn't it? So lovely Hornby Railways box. As I say, it's got secrets below the sticker, and here it says suitable for Super 4 or System 6. Let's just have a swift look around the box. So I'm hoping to get this into the layout, but there's a couple of things holding me back at the moment. Nice paper label there, but there's been a little bit of damage. It's been peeled away, and the far corner of it there, possibly a price ticket has been over there. It looks that sort of shape, doesn't it? And sort of the edge of the number is missing, but there's all the items, including the ramp. So quite an informative image. And we'll just look around the far side here. There is a little damage on the edge of the box there, and it is sort of white cardboard. I'm not going to turn it over. There is no printing on the bottom of the box. So if I lift off the lid, and there is no internal packaging. That was missing when this came to me. So you can see there's a slight split there. I think if we just pop this terrific picture to one side. That's one other thing with this picture. Just looking at this image here, you see this point work here. It shows that earlier design of points that they struggled with in the early 70s. I think all of the point work in here is of that nature. That's got to be Britannia there and an evening star. So let's just pop that over there. So I have got a copy of the instructions. I've got the originals in here in this little bit of polythene there. So it was quite nice to have the instructions. Rovex Limited, Westwood, Margate, Kent. And you can see the motor assembly there. And we've got the number there, R0. Sorry, I'll say that again. It's R408, and then there's a date there. That's got to be 12/9/74, do you think? It looks like that, doesn't it? But, you can see the fencing and the lamppost being fitted there. There are a pair of lampposts actually. There is the lamppost there. Let's just pop that to one side. Actually, it's probably easier looking at this copy. So just have a swift look at that. So I bought this around that well-known auction site quite a long time ago. And the guy actually delivered it to the door, which is quite nice. But as I say, no internal packaging. I have thrown some extra bits in here, so these didn't come with it. We'll come with those in a second. So we've got the spaghetti and the operating switch. I didn't use the operating switch last time because it's quite harsh. You get full power to the motor in one go. We'll have a look at it working. I think I'll put it back to a controller because I think it's just kinder to the gearing in the end. And we've got the fencing sections there. I think there's an extra one there. I think it only has two. You've only clipped two on it, and I've got an extra there. You can see the fencing clips into these. So if you have a look at the insert picture there, you can see it all constructed together, just how it should look. But we'll eventually get that into here. So there's silica gel bags, and there is those little ramps which take the track work down onto the baseboard. Because sorry, I'll just take those out. There's three of those. Sorry, four of those. There's one inlet and three outlets, so there's four, and they've all got their little tags at the end to plug in to locate them. So I think that's quite nice. They are yellowing slightly, aren't they, compared to the base of the turntable. And I think these lamps might have come from the motorway range. I think I've seen these in pictures, although this is missing one of the sort of fake glass bits. It's always been gone. And these tiny little stubs or protrusions at the bottom, they just stand straight into, if we find the hole, there we go, there's one. They just stand straight in like that, and this one was damaged. So I've drilled a hole and just put a piece of a wire in there and stand it in a little bit like the platform canopy supports that we looked at a little earlier. Works quite successfully. So we'll put that to one side, and there we have it. And there is a little tag missing off the bottom of this hut here, which makes it clip into position, but it doesn't really jump out of place instantly, but it does tend to vibrate and separate a little bit. And there is that lovely motor there. But we'll see that run in a little while. But, let's turn that around. Let's just lift this up a little. Again, I'm doing this one-handed, which really isn't ideal. So these adapter tracks here, these are converter tracks. We saw these in a video earlier, so they convert from Super 4 to System 6. And we've got the half sleeper end. And I believe they might have originally converted to the Hornby 002 rail track as well. But because I'm using largely System 6 track, which doesn't have the half sleeper end, these other four which I've dropped in the box, they're of either an earlier design for the Hornby 00 track or of a later design. So I think they were both. So they don't have the half sleeper end on the System 6 end, but they still have the half sleeper at that end. So I think I'll just make things a little neater. So I think it's going to look quite good, but just get hold of a track to get this integrated into the system. Another silica gel bag there. I do find that sort of helps with the moisture, even though centrally heated home, the cardboard does tend to attract quite a bit of moisture one way or another. I think that's going to be quite terrific once we get that in. It's always good fun, the turntable. Let's just turn that over. Have a look at the bottom side of it. Nice label there, so wire retaining label. And I just put that piece of tape in there, just the screw. Sometimes this comes loose and it drops down, and if the turntable's installed in the layout, if it drops down, you've got to remove the turntable because it drops down far enough not to make contact with the machine screw head there. So you've got to take the turntable out to get it fixed again. But a fairly robust old thing. I think it's far more reliable than the turntables that followed. We're just going to dive into this 1972 catalogue here, trying Hornby. I think that's the last year that the annual catalogue bared that name. It was Hornby Railways from then on. And I've chosen this catalogue because it features not only this model first coming along in this year, but it also has these G.W.R coaches in it as well. And I think the coaches were in production from 61 on and off through till the early 70s, so I don't think they made it into the 80s. I think there was a new model by then. So there we see the pannier tank looking lovely and glossy, and we've seen the version I have is all matte and waxy, isn't it? So rather impressive looking picture there, although sadly the printing is not quite as good as it could have been, is it? If we just have a swift look at the info there, we can see it has that earlier model number we were talking about. Definitely got the synchro smoke, and available early in 1972, followed by a little info on the actual locomotive itself. And we'll just have a swift look further through. We won't dwell too long in the catalogue, but we have seen this one a number of times before. And there we do have the coaches, don't we? We've got R.041, third class, clear story coach, in that lovely chocolate and cream. And those great white panels on the roof make it really stand out, don't they? And then we've got the brake R.333, and very small pictures perhaps. Pictures became much bigger than that in catalogues to follow of various items. Lots of white space around these too. Let's just pop this down and have a swift look over the models. So we've just got to have a quick look at the pannier tank. We can see it is very dull in appearance, very waxy, isn't it? Got some separately fitted parts, loads of detail all over it. And I'm not 100% about its accuracy to the prototype, but it's a fairly good looking model. I think it sold quite a lot. You see a lot of these around, quite often with little bits and pieces missing. I think the chimney cap goes, and this dome here vanishes, or is it a safety valve? Again, I'm demonstrating my huge knowledge in locomotives here, which has all the steps. And those decals really do stand out, don't they, for probably the wrong reasons. They're really crudely applied on what looks like sort of shiny cellophane, don't they? But they've lasted the time. And you can see the back end of the motor there in the cab. And looking underneath, we've got the grey plastic drive gear there. We've got flanges on all the wheels, although the centre wheels, the flanging is slightly less than the outer wheels. But still quite nice to have the flange there. I have noticed on this model there is an awful lot of play side to side on these wheels. So I don't know whether somebody's had a fiddle with it in the past, but looking at the axle ends, they all, well, I suppose that one doesn't quite line up with the end there, does it? But the others do. But it seems to do the job, but fairly robust thing, I think. It would stand up to a fair bit of play. But, couplings just held in with the little flathead screws there, still metal couplings, and no provision for vacuum pipes. You can see the chassis poking through the bodywork there. So all in all, quite a tidy looking thing. This one coming from 77, we saw the instructions a little earlier. Again, plated wheels, so that makes it quite nice smooth running. So we'll just have a quick look over the coaches here. As I say, I think these are early 60s ones. They have the open axle boxes. They're not doing too bad a job on the railway. And just having a look under here, we've got made in England and Triang's name. I think the under section there is separately fitted. You can see the screw there that holds the roof on, and there's no seating within these coaches. Lovely details on the end. Again, we've seen these coaches in past videos. We'll just pop that down. I'll have a swift look over the brake coach. So I think these white panels really do make it quite distinctive when you look at them. There's lots and lots of windows, aren't there? And they're not too bad a shape for models dating back to the early 60s. You can see she runs relatively smoothly, and the motor doesn't appear to have done very much work at all. So there's a tiny little bit of rust developing on the top plate of the motor, but apart from that, she seems to be in pretty much perfect condition. So we'll just have a swift look over there. Those nice shiny drive wheels, aren't they? Very, very slippery as well. You can see those quite extended gaps in there. Perhaps I should measure these and see if they really are the same. I think that might be worth it. Doesn't seem to derail or have any trouble, but I have noticed that that play there is quite extensive. But she does the job. So we'll just pop her down, and we'll have a swift look over the body now we've removed it from the chassis. So the screw goes in the side there. I don't know whether you can see that, just under the G, and it is the tiniest of screws. Let's have a look at that. It's got a slight shoulder on it to accommodate the going through the body. I don't know whether we can get focus on there. There we go. Just if I take that one away, it's going for the box, isn't it? It's trying to focus for the box. Take my word for it. It's a tiny little screw. So we had a good look around that before. What I forgot to mention is I think that the body's in two parts. The top part of the tank above this rail, it looks to be separately moulded. And I think on the earlier model it actually comes away quite readily, but it seems to be quite securely attached to each other here. And you can see those separately fitted parts coming through the moulding. Quite a bit of overspray from the black work on the model. And you can see the buffers there. They do just pull out these ones. He says they're definitely of the plastic variety rather than metal. And it doesn't appear to be trying Hornby or Hornby Railway's name or a model number or made in England that I can see anywhere on the inside of this model. So they've done quite a good job squeezing this around the motor, haven't they? The space is really not very much left in there. I think it's time to give this pannier tank and coaches a little more power, and we'll take them down the incline section around that curve into the corner of the room. So we'll go for a little more power, see if we can hold this camera level, and away they go over that very bright girder bridge. And we're going to pass the box for the turntable there, and I have got the turntable set up. We'll have a look at that in a moment. And let's just run this down onto level ground. And we'll just stop her at the station there. So we'll just have a quick walk across and have a look at that. She is at the station, so I think what we'll do, we'll run around from this platform and take her right around the room and see if we can get her alongside the platform here next to the bridge. So we'll just go back to the controls, and if I hold that up you can get a better view of that. I've got the camera set very wide at the moment. Let's give that some power now. come to a stop just before the point work here, and we'll just check that we've got everything set. So I think we need to flip this one here. So I still haven't got used to the runs on this layout and where things go, and I have to admit that I'm finding looking at these System 6 style points, I find it quite difficult when looking, just working out where things are going to go. It's not as immediately obvious which way these blades are pointing with so many things going on, but I'm sure we'll get used to it. And also thinking about some numbering as well might be advisable once we start to get them electrified. So let's see if we can roll that into the platform now. There we have it. So we're at the other end of the large station there. We've got the 37 sitting there with the rake of blue and grey coaches. So plenty of options to be had with this station. I think we'll back those out again. We'll see if we can take them around the railway in reverse. Let's see what we do. So our plan is to take them out of here, and we'll run all the way around. I won't swing backwards, but we'll swing forwards and have a look around here. We'll see if we can return them into the station here, back where we came from, over there. So let's just have a quick look how we're set here. So we're still good down here. It's going to require a change of points, I think, underneath or next to the girder bridge, but let's start by backing them out of the station. Sorry, I just lost the subject altogether there. So we'll give it a little more power now. And we got the right direction and everything. I think if we stop there, we need to switch this set of points just beyond the girder bridge. I think the curved points are still set correctly from earlier, so that should lead us back round to where we got this group of models from earlier on. So let's see if we can get the correct direction again. Let's see if we can go for a slightly higher view here. A little bit of a stick on those points. I'm just stopping here purely because I want to change hands with the camera before we swing around the other side of the room. Let's pick that up again. So this is where I forget which way to turn the controller. So the controller's now behind me over my left shoulder. Just made contact with the buffers there at the end of the line in the station there. So I heard just that faint tap as they got there. So I think we're safely into the station. And we haven't hit them so hard we've caused a derailment. I was actually trying to turn the controls to slow those down to a gentle stop just that little bit earlier, but I think that's probably it for this time. Thanks again for watching. I hope you've enjoyed seeing what's been going on in the layout. As I say, I think over the next few videos we're going to be getting a bit more, between the videos I'll be doing probably a little bit more on the wiring to electrify this point work so we can have a bit more fun with it perhaps. well, so I can have a bit more fun with it. Let's just have a look at the turntable, see if we can have a quick go. Just before we go, I'd forgotten all about this. I've wired it up, and the wiring might not all be the right colours, but I think it's going to run. It's fairly noisy, isn't it? But I think that going into full power each time is probably quite harsh on the gearing. So it's quite nice to switch, but I think I might go for a more gradual effect. Let's just take the top off the little hut there at the end, and I'll see if I can operate this while we have a look at the motor, see if we can see that having a run. It is rather abrupt, isn't it? Let's see that from above. And one more. I think that's probably it, as I was trying to say earlier. That's it for this week. And if you look back again next time, we'll have an update on what's happened, and we'll try and have a different model to have a look at. Thanks a lot. Goodbye now.